me a signal when you're ready. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am proud to introduce Brandon Burbank, and this is his introduction. Brandon is an entrepreneur, mental health advocate, bilingual American citizen, born and raised in Whatcom County. He has an AA in Arts and Science from Whatcom Community College, where he also studied abroad in Europe and Africa. Brandon will be speaking about his book, Come Back to Success, a Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Brandon Burbank.
Thank you so much, Renee, for that wonderful introduction. And so, here we are today. It's October 29th in Downey, California, Southern California. And I just want to say thank you so much, especially for all of the people who have taken a busy time out of their schedules to be in attendance for something that's going to help a lot of people pertaining to the mental health community, and specifically for people who are in America, and also just being able to focus on how my story in life is going to be able to provide a lot of value for those struggling with mental illness, mental health struggles, behavioral health problems, and just being able to address a lot of very real and serious issues that we all have in life, but addressing it in a way that's light, that's heartfelt, and that provides clarity for those so that they can help themselves. So I've got my notes here. I don't need my notes, but I'm choosing to use them because I'm still learning as a professional speaker, and I want to be able to provide value to you guys. And one of the big things that I've learned as a professional speaker is knowing your audience. So with that being said, I know my audience. I see everyone very clearly in front of me, and so I want to be able to understand who they are and be able to provide energy and direction for them specifically. And then everyone tuning in on the recording. So then also just talking about some of my entrepreneurial skills, journey, life story, which is the most important thing that I have to offer for you all today. And that is clarity, direction, truth, understanding, perspective, success. All these words that I have, all this knowledge that I have, I humbly share with you all today because of my experience, my story. So I'm going to outline a couple of components that are outlining a lot of my journey, my life story, and kind of to put it into more organized approach for those that are really receptive towards understanding different stories in that way. That's just my speaking style, whether you like it or not. So I'm getting better at having more humor involved in my speeches, but that's a work in progress. So with that being said, I'm going to go through some chapters in my book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. The purpose of these chapters are to encapsulate my journey as well as my hard work, dedicated commitment towards a specific niche market here in America and the world, and that is the mental health community. So I'm going to also take some breaks because I think it's important for you guys to understand how important it is that everything that I'm saying, your brains are like sponges. And so because of the fact that our brains are so incredibly wired and we don't even know everything about ourselves, everything that I'm saying is like new information to you because there's different understanding levels for all of us. With that being said, I want to give you guys a chance to digest what I'm saying at a rate that's more clarified for you. Okay, so keeping it focused around mental health, my business, Come Back to Success, helps focus for the mental health market here in this world. Okay, so book content, personal development, all those things that I've created in myself, in my life story, I'm going to really stay close towards my life story because what that does is it helps give you guys more perspective. So there are more than 50 million Americans who can relate to this presentation topic, at least not even adolescents. This is a statistic found from the Mental Health Institute of America Mental Health, and so that's why it's very powerful, and it's something that my business, Come Back to Success, aims to tackle for change for those. Looking at my notes here, picture a 19-year-old walking into a psychiatric hospital. So I know that's a quick change of information, perspective, and I'm saying that so that you guys can really digest some of the experiences that I've had in my life. Okay, so the picture a 19-year-old walking into a psychiatric hospital. That's not a pretty sight. It's not a, happy experience. But I can tell you right now that through this journey, through this honesty towards myself and reflection of my life, I have clarity. And I have clarity that I'm a perfect human being made in the perfect eyes of my God. And so with that, some of the things that are involved in life are the human condition. And so being able to be understood in my own way by myself is more powerful than not. So I'm not going to talk about who I am because I have a business campaign that's over 3 years old and a lot of people already know who I am, and if they don't, then they will know soon enough. Introduction, academic success, and studying abroad. So this is the first chapter in my book, Come Back to Success, because picture a 23-year-old starting to really get on a roll in his life as he started to find out what his purpose is, what his passion is, what his decisions that he had to make throughout his life, and reflecting on who he is as a person and being able to be more aware of himself in this world. So this chapter 1, it encapsulates a lot of my personal life, personal stories. Now I'm specifically saying this not in a way to brag, because a lot of people really can't relate to all my experiences that I am very, very fortunate to have. So there's a lot of things that why I say and why I do certain things is because I believe that my higher power, my calling, is inspired. It's inspired me to be a leader in this world, to be a change maker, so that I can be the best version of myself, happy, peace of mind, safety, all of which are really important for the human condition. So for those of you that are all from Southern California here, the lifestyle in Bellingham, Washington, Whatcom County, as Renee introduced me, it's a little bit different than here because I come from more of a slow-paced environment where there's a lot different perspective on life and people just choose to stay closed-minded. And so I've, as Renee mentioned, I've made a lot of definite decisions in my life to provide opportunities. Hey, welcome. Yes, come on in. To provide change for others, to really understand more of who I am through my experiences. And why I say that is because my experiences in life are so valuable, and they're priceless too. I'm going to briefly talk about my YouTube channel because it really encapsulates, I know I like that word, it encapsulates the perspective of my journey to start taking risks, and also being business-minded and having a relentless commitment approach towards myself, my own financial gains, and also awareness towards my competitiveness has allowed me to take my entrepreneurial journey to the next level in the past 7 to 10 years, honestly. Actually, no, throughout all my life. Yeah, I talk about that in my book. Like, some specific examples are like collecting aluminum cans with my grandmother and taking it to like the garbage cleaner recycling plant, and I'd get money. I'd get like $5, $20, and then even in my like childhood, adolescence, teenage years, I was an entrepreneur, like trying to like mow lawns and doing a lot of gardening and yard work, mowing lawns. That helped me get more like perspective on I can make a lot of money and be happy and just not be like tied down towards somebody saying, oh, you have to get a paycheck and make this amount of money. Folks, that's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is I get to write my own paychecks. I get to make my own income statements, things like that I have the power of choice here in America to really take advantage of. All right, so that's the entrepreneurship intro for tonight's speech. I'm going to also talk about a couple of other things like focusing on the mental health community again, money and mental health. Step one. Oh, well, hold on. I'm going to say this, money and mental health. This is from my book, Come Back. I say this because this comes directly from my book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. I'm not a certified accountant or financial planner. I'm writing this based on my experience with using money to successfully live a lifestyle where I can say that I'm happy and working on becoming a more self-sustaining. The person below, or the below steps could vary from person to person. So I'm going to stop right there and be honest with you all today, because the fact that I wrote this like 3 years ago says a lot about humbleness, integrity, approaches towards making myself better and having a better awareness of who I am and knowing that I'm not a victim to my financial circumstances in life. And I say that bluntly because of the fact that my financial situation is not good right now. And I'm not blaming any of you, and I'm not blaming anybody on this earth besides myself for that. Okay, so folks, we all have choices to make in life, and because of that, that is the trajectory of who we are and who we will become. Okay, so because of that understanding, I have, and like I said, I'm an entrepreneur, I have the ability to make certain decisions that will either benefit myself, benefit my life for the better, or take me down a road that is more not fulfilling in life. Hello, folks. Have a seat. Welcome. All right. So, like I was saying, though, talking more about just awareness of the self, perspective on myself, giving myself perspective on others, and also finding contentment in who I am, peace of mind in who I am, because of the fact that I have so much to be grateful for. So I went on a tangent there because of the fact that I was talking about money and mental health, and I'm going to go into that now. Step one. Have a plan for what you want to save up for. Step 2, consistency is key. Step 3, ask for advice. Step 4, believe in yourself. Step 5, create attainable goals. Step 6, smart execution, work. So that's in my book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow, because 3 years ago when I was living in Seattle, Washington, I had a dream, and I still have that dream, and I'm protecting that dream because I have a lot to offer to this world, and I know that the monetary gains that I'm going to have and am building are part of success, part of realities of life for those that sacrifice their life for something that's going to help themselves as well as others in this world. Okay, so my book publishing journey is another really important thing that I wanted to focus in on talking about for a little bit, because I think it's really a pivotal part of my business growth and development as I started to pinpoint and put together pieces of knowledge that is organized thought, organized planning that I emphasize with a large amount of willpower that in turn has turned into something that's a product. And with a product, folks, we have a business. With a service, folks, we have a business. With a product and a service, even better, you have a business. Okay, so my book publishing journey started when I was living at the time in Seattle, Washington, right? So Seattle, Washington, beautiful city, wonderful place here in America, and being able to live in this independently, financially independently, in this wonderful city in Washington State, I was able to start to learn how my perspective in life, as well as in who I am, was starting to change. So even before then, I knew I wanted to live here in Los Angeles. And it's funny because I was working as a car sales consultant in Burlington, Washington, which is in Skagit Valley, south of Whatcom County, which is where I was born and raised in. And being able to just, Being able to give reflection on myself, where I come from, my humble beginnings, and being able to feel comfortable in my own skin and who I am. That's why it took me to really, really uncomfortable places in my life that I found clarity in through time, through perspective, through patience. There's a couple of key components pertaining to my book publishing journey that come to mind right now. And that is a specific person of influence. Her name was A.R. Mann. She's one of the professors, leading adjunct professors in Bellingham, Washington, where I went to college in as well, Western Washington University. She's also an entrepreneur, supply chain professional. She's very successful in her life, and she gave me perspective because I was really passionate about starting a business, right? So because of that passion, I was able to find clarity, find peace of mind, find understanding, because things that are important in life, they come with a lot of work, a lot of passion, a lot of grit, a lot of integrity. And I say that because I've sacrificed so much to get to this point, and now being able to talk openly towards my experiences, towards people, is so liberating. Like, to the point to where I'm like, this is the meaning of life here, folks. And there's only 2, 4, 6, 8 of you. So there's over 7 billion with a capital B people in this world. And if I'm saying this to you right now, that I can be happy with 8 people knowing who I am, who my story is, then there's a lot of things that people can do to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself before you wreck. Anyways, so that's my book publishing journey in a nutshell, okay? And I think that another thing that I will say is that success comes with controversy, folks. Success comes with controversy. I have a dark past. Everybody has a dark past. Let's be blunt and let's be honest towards ourselves about that. And I'm going to move on. All right, definition. According to Mayo Clinic, bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression, is a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings, include emotional highs, mania or hypomania, and lows. There's a clock on my phone. I'm going to move on to chapter 3, diagnosis and affliction. Okay, so the biggest takeaways that I got was the hardest part of my journey. Oh, if you don't know by now, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, so that's good to know. Understanding your diagnosis more is the second step. Getting support from your mental health team. Continue to persevere through the struggles and finding hope that you will see better days for time to come. Accept where you are at and take action to get to where you want to go. Learning how to live well, hospitalizations, halfway homes, and self-help programs. Let's see here. I'm trying to absorb this moment. So please forgive me, but I'm feeling it out because this is all new to me. Every new experience comes with understanding, right? So with understanding comes direction. And if I don't do what I'm doing for myself right now, when I'm inspiring a lot more people at a bigger audience, bigger rate, then I will not be, I'd be giving myself a disservice, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so learning how to live well, hospitalizations, halfway homes, and self-help programs. Step 1, develop self-awareness. I got that. Step 2, confide in someone you trust and who can help give you some feedback on the way you are feeling in your life at the moment. Step 3, do your best to take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be bigger than your mental illness. Bipolar disorder for me, it's only a part of you. Step 6, cope with the negative symptoms from your circumstances. So a lot of behavioral health problems that I have experienced. All right, here we go, folks. Paranoia, depression, fear, which is normal in life. Those are the big ones. Be patient for the changes to come to creation in your life. Yeah, it's let's see here. The writing on the walls is chapter 5. I don't know what else to say at this point. I'm just trying to the collection of interviews detailing mental illness diagnoses and experiences. Interview with licensed mental health counselor. I'm going to actually take this moment to open it up to the audience because I want to hear your thoughts on where you're at, because your opinion is important to me as well, just like my opinion is important to me. So, does anybody have any questions thus far? All right. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a moment to ask the audience a question. And this question is about mental health, okay? That's why we're here today, because we're learning about mental health awareness, mental health perspective. And for anybody who's brave enough to answer this question, you get a free drink. That question is, why does the mental health behavior that you might be, that's too personal. My question to you would be like, does anybody have any perspective on mental health that they are willing and openly willing to share? That's so personal.
I'll leave it.
Anybody have any questions?
So I have.
Yes, sir.
My name is Bill, and I have several students in my music school.
This won't get this
They have
platform.
different levels of mental challenges, and we call them differences. And so I just look at these folks and see just not what it is that's holding them back, but more about what they can do from where they're standing. And so we work with kids, especially kids, that's where we've got them. And we treat them like they can do everything that everybody else can. We find out where we can take them and how they respond to it, and then we push in ways that they respond to and ways that they're able to be successful. So I found with the people that I've been involved with who have little differences in the way they come to us, that their growth is their growth, and it's not based on what anybody else does. And it's the same is true with every other student we have. It's their growth is their growth, and they come from where they come from, and they grow in their own pattern. It's the same with people who are not considered in mental health situations. So it's just where you come from, what you respond to, how much you're into it. I found that a lot of my students who are on mental health differences, we'll just call them differences, they're more motivated than a lot of people. They love being able to do what they do. Are they able to jump into advanced situations easily? Some of them are, some of them aren't. And they love being able to do music, which is what I have to do.
Wonderful. That was really, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, sir. Okay, so does anybody else have anything to offer, to share to the audience? Because I want to open this up for other people so that they can learn from other people beyond myself. Because I've said enough about myself for you to understand where I come from.
I have a question.
Yes, you, sir.
I don't know why, but it seems as if.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Come on in. Yes, we're live.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome. There's free drinks in the. What are we saying, sir?
Okay, back to my question. Why do you think suffer from, well, I guess, mental health or situations like that have a sort of like a negative feelings towards people who suffer that, and to the point where they're afraid of them. When I guess there are various degrees of mental health, and why do you think is that?
Degrees of mental health is what I'm processing. It's up to the person, honestly. To answer your question, sir, it's more related to how the person identifies themselves. Okay? So how they understand themselves, how they find clarity within themselves, and then they let other people do the rest. That's my answer.
Brandon, I think one of the things he was talking about were people who encounter people who have mental health issues, that the people encountering them may have some fear toward. Am I correct?
Correct.
So why do you think people in the general public might have fear toward people that have mental health challenges?
Good question, sir. Well, in stigma is the word. Stigma. There's a lot of stigma around this world that's pertaining to mental health awareness. Why do you see many people in this world that are not openly enough to share their perspective, their information about their behavioral health disorder, mental health condition, mental illness, whatever you want to call it. I really don't care. But it's really up to the person with how they want to identify themselves or others. And that's the problem with a lot of people, is a lot of people aren't open-minded, period. So that takes us to a break. We're going to take a 5-minute break for anybody to drink any refreshments. There's refreshments over here in this corner, and feel free to mingle a little bit, and then I'll be back on stage in a momentarily. Thanks, guys.
Right. Yeah. But I've been talking to my sister, Laura, and even though she's not happy where she is, because she's gonna get used to it. And one thing that worries me is the fact that she has been disciplined tremendously in a very short period of time. So she's always been very active. She's always running around. She spends hours cleaning and Olivia and Brandon, I guess this is her.
Ruben still there?
Yeah, he left early. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Anyway, but I guess happy at the moment, so that's I don't want to get involved with what happened to the house, what's going on with the finance, it's all good. Well, I think she's in a condition where she's going to direction as what she wants to do. At this point, I think it's difficult because her mind is depending more, and we had an opportunity that we were really not sure, and she asked me to be away. We got to do it. Do with that, approach that, cleaning my house and doing exercises. What about yeah, unfortunately, yes, she's recovering. She had a back spine surgery. Not recently, but several months ago. Yeah, several months ago. Yeah. So slowly but surely she's recovering. Yeah, she's walking. Yes, and of course she can't stand up too much. I'm gonna go back to get her right by the arm. No, she walks with the cane. Yeah, so she's getting comfortable.
All right, so if everybody can have a seat again, and we'll continue this presentation.
Hey guys, if you don't mind,
All right, so I'm going to reference a lot of different perspectives on this chapter. And this is what I'm going to talk about because this is focusing in on the different perspectives of people who have been impacted by mental illness, mental health struggles, behavioral health problems, right? So because of that, I have awareness to share with you all today. And that is, this is all found in my book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow as well, right? So the first question I asked was a licensed mental health counselor who has a master's in clinical psychology. Excuse me. How can counseling have an impact on patients with a mental illness? The LMHC responded, ultimately, at the root of every condition, ultimately at the root of every condition, you can develop a strength and unique perspective to practice resilience. The ultimate goal of counseling is to develop insight that allows one to ultimately treat oneself with all the necessary treatment resources available. The licensed mental health counselor also said that strength-based approach to overcome stigmatization, looking for whatever the patient has in their life, and character and ability to allow them to empower themselves to direct their own growth. As mental illness is viewed, grow to heal and recover from the mental illness to develop strength. Who is the best support system that can help improve the lives of the adolescent with a mental health diagnosis or imbalance? And their response was, family is the greatest source of support. For a family, recommending psychoeducation, family support, family systems therapy, and community support. So there's been, in my experience, my sister had a lot of behavioral health challenges as a kid. And so I've seen her growth, her perspective through that lens. And because of that lens, I have empathy for children who have come from different backgrounds, experiences, that humble themselves because they don't have that choice to choose their parents, to choose their environment. And so that's why being able to be empathetic, kind, and respectful to our kids is really an important part of life. And being able to do that is what comes from us changing ourselves from the adults, because our kids are who are going to help us in the future. So that's a really important thing, because in our, you see in our youth population, you sort of mentioned about your experience with how the youth population are being heavily impacted, and how your music school, I think you were saying, has helped a lot of children through their perspective to, find ways that are creative and to channel that energy, that whether it's behavioral health problems, conflict within the mind, that's psychological, because things that are happening here and in all of in all of us, in all our brains, it's hard to express that sometimes and communicate that. Like even for me, like you might think I have it all put together, but guess what? I don't. So I'm humble enough to say that, and I'm humble enough to say that that's okay, because it's okay to not be okay. There's a song and I'm being honest, there's a song by like Demi Lovato, I think, it's okay to not be okay. So, anyways. Okay, so that is the clinical psychologist who I interviewed, and now I'm going to move on to Dr. Gregory Jantz, PhD, founder of the Center, A Place of Hope in Edmonds, Washington. So before I talk about Dr. Jantz, his educational background is doctorate in counseling and psychology. Okay, what are the biggest struggles that the world is facing right now related to mental health? Due to the pandemic, depression and anxiety, the World Health Organization that says that depression is a worldwide problem. For those that are trying to come back to success, what advice can you give to someone who is faced with a mental health condition or a mental illness? And his response was, recovery is always possible, and with all of our pain comes great opportunity to change other people's life. I think it's powerful, because there's a lot of things that we can't control in our lives in this really, really busy world today, to put it lightly. But we can control ourselves. We can control our behaviors, our actions, our words, everything that might seem really out of reach or out of proportionally uncomfortable or not being able to express thyself. It's possible, I can tell you right now, because there's been many times in my life where I didn't know who to reach out to, who would understand me and my background and my experiences, trials and tribulations. Okay, so now I'm going to transition this to another perspective beyond myself, which provides more clarity. Amy Armstrong is a volunteer in Downey, Whatcom County in Bellingham, Washington. She has a bachelor's in psychology from Western Washington University. Conversation with Amy Armstrong. Brandon, what are some of the pieces of advice you could give to others who want to come back to success when faced with a mental health struggle? Amy, important to try to give themselves compassion, time, and patience to know that it is not a straight path. There are a lot of ups and downs. It is normal and okay. You can be strong in working with these things, and that you are not alone. Matt McGaha is a 34-year-old mental health advocate. Peer-to-peer interview with Matt McGaha, perspective on mental health diagnoses as an adolescent. Okay, so this was conducted in February 18, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. What is your mental health diagnosis? I asked. Bipolar 1 disorder. When did this occur? Matt said, first experienced symptoms in 6th grade, 11 or 12 years old. First diagnosed at 14 years old. And I have here, in sum, finding what works best for you and your mental illness is key. The next person I interviewed is Amber Gear, who is a grad student at Northwest University in Kirkland, Washington. Okay, so you mentioned that you are going to counseling, to school for counseling. How can counseling add value to someone who is struggling with their mental health? Added support to the client's support system. There are some clients who come in with no support system. Counseling is part of the management of your symptoms. What works best for you in your life? And then I wrote here, finding what works best for you and your mental illness. Another person I interviewed in this chapter, who I'm going to talk about lastly, and his perspective is very powerful because of the fact that he works directly with the adolescent and the adult with behavioral health challenges, mental illness. I asked licensed professional counselor at Skyline Trail in Atlanta, Georgia, Zach Garner. He made a great point about inclusivity for society to destigmatize mental health. Sorry, that was another great point that you asked me about. And this is really, I think this goes more into depth around that perspective that you asked me. So I'm really glad that you were able to ask me that during this conversation. Okay, so this is a great question with many possible answers depending on whom you ask. I maintain that building awareness through education and training is going to be the best way to increase people's knowledge of mental health. With education comes understanding, and with understanding, the hope would be that acceptance would follow. I think there have been efforts made, and there is much more that needs to be done. It will not be an easy task, and it will mean getting support from community and government leaders at varying levels of influence. Atomic habits for mental health. This is another transition chapter from chapter 5 to chapter 6 in my book, Come Back to Success. I will have book sales here after this presentation, $20 each, and I'll sign it as well. So this is chapter 6, Atomic Habits for Mental Health. I went into reading this book called Atomic Habits, Summary by James Clear. And what this book talks about is perspective on habit awareness and how we behave. Our personal habits are so impactful, so influential on our everyday life, as well as the people around us. So because of that book, it inspired me to write a chapter on this book. And I found a lot of clarity, I found a lot of understanding by reading his content and then giving my own take, giving my own spin on it. So I want to share that with you all today. And that is clarity and insight for those that have been impacted by an addiction, right? So a lot of people have addictions in the mental health field. Like, just in my experience, for example, going to living in a halfway house, being a client of Skyline Trail in Atlanta, Georgia, and seeing how a lot of the clients, people with mental illness, behavioral health problems, would smoke alcohol, be on drugs or alcohol or in their past. And because of that, it's called dual diagnosis. So dual diagnosis is like when you have a mental illness and you have some type of addiction to like alcohol, drugs. So, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you to think about why I'm saying this. Why do you think people use drugs or alcohol? Does anybody have an answer to that? Yes, you, sir, in the back.
To deal with a sense of unhappiness or dissatisfaction with something in their lives.
Yes, you, sir.
To escape reality?
Yeah, that's a different perspective than myself. I think both of you are right because you both have different truth to yourself. And because you see lens from different lens than I do, you are powerful, just like I am powerful. Okay, so that ends chapter 6, Atomic Habits for Mental Health. How we're doing on time? It's 6:13. We're doing good on time. Chapter 7, Fundamental Plan for Living a Happy and Healthy Lifestyle with a Mental Health Diagnosis. This chapter is, I sum it up right now. I sum it up for one purpose. For those that are like needing more perspectives, seeking help, or just are actively seeking help and can find this more from reference to for themselves so that they can help themselves, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find the words to say this in a way that's articulated and clear. I don't know if there's anybody in this audience that has a mental illness or behavioral health problem, but I know for a fact that the things in this chapter 7, the care plan, that's what it is. Care plan is what I learned when I was at Skyline Trail, and I was able to get more knowledge through educating myself, self-education. So, essentially what I'm saying about self-care, and that goes into the category of self-care, which is the self-care plan. Okay, so I'm going to break it down here. The care plan, what it does is it allows the individual actively seeking help for their mental health to find their answers for themselves, right? So when they find answers for themselves, they are essentially being more honest with themselves. And with honesty comes truth, and with truth comes freedom, and with freedom comes compassion to help the self, others. But the care plan, like I said, to put into a few words due to the amount of time we have, as well as the importance of my message to my audience tonight, is that the self-care plan, which is chapter 7, it can help a lot of people struggling with their mental illness. Okay, so chapter 8, which is passion pathfinding, retail to motivational speaking. This is a chapter that I highlight because I'm a competitive guy. I'm very ambitious, and so I talk about my move from Bellingham, Washington to Seattle, Washington, and then taking a risk and going to Southern California, and moving to Los Angeles. I'm gonna cry, honestly. So, and then raising over $7,000 for my move to Seattle, Washington, passing up on buying a condo in my hometown because of my ambition to pursue growth in my business, balancing my budget to move to California and what I needed to have planned in order to successfully make the move. So all those things that are really, really hard, that I sacrifice humbly and ambitiously for myself as a way to find my purpose in this world, my passion, that's it, yeah. And then chapter 9, success over stigma. This is the last chapter in the book, Come Back to Success. And I would say that this is a good chapter because it does a really good job of ending everything, summing up everything that I talked about, but putting a spin on it towards more motivational perspective, more motivational advice, motivational information that's from who I am as a person. Okay, so the actor Will Smith made a quote about success and how to focus on creating success that lasts. It goes like this: to build a wall, you must lay one brick as perfectly as possible. Once this is achieved, focus on the next brick and lay it as perfectly as possible, so on and so forth, until eventually you have a wall. Now, I put this in the book as a way of understanding definition of success. Everybody living and breathing can have success. It's all about the mindset, the perspective, and how we change our habits, our understanding of the self, and our environment around us. Situational awareness. Calculated risks is what has gotten me ahead in life. My book, Come Back to Success, talks more in depth about finding your passion and just giving me perspective to find my truth, find my purpose, and to help the niche market, the mental health community. An idea for overcoming your struggles, a couple of keynote perspectives, takeaways for tonight. Give yourself space and time to understand yourself more with self-awareness so that you can be at peace and happy like you were born to be. What do you need to do right now to take action for your life? What is the one thing or the list of things you need to do to make a comeback to success? I don't care if you I don't care if you have a mental illness or not. I'm just saying, like, humbly speaking, if you have some type of problem in your life, but this is more importantly, this is help and directed for the mental health and the mental health community, because I can relate to them the most through my experiences, through my journey, through my story that's really embedded in this book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. So I have a lot of energy, and I'm going to kind of do it really quickly because this is my speaking style, and I don't want to just end the night without a lot of energy, because I have so much energy, guys. You have no idea. Okay, so I'm looking at one page here left, so I'm going to do this with as much energy as I can so that you guys can come away with motivation, with inspiration, with hope, perspective, passion for yourself. I don't care about me because I'm getting paid to do this, okay? So when it comes to, like, helping yourself, like, this is me, like, getting out of my shell because I have so much energy that I'm trying to express to you guys all today, okay? So, step 1, develop self-awareness. Step 2, confide in someone you trust and who can help give you some feedback on the way you are feeling in your life at the moment, okay? Step 3, do your best to take charge of your life. Step 4, accept change. Step 5, be bigger than your mental illness. It's only a part of you. Step 6, cope with the negative symptoms from your circumstances. And lack of acceptance in your life leads to little or no change that can be made. Be patient for the changes to come to creation in your life. All right, this is my last summation. I found that God has helped me in times of trouble and need when it felt like there was nobody around to pick me up. And lastly, I believe in myself. So the person that I'm going to thank the most is myself, because I have been able to conquer so much in this world, and I know that I have a hard-ass story that is going to help change the world. I believe in myself, I have integrity, and that's all I need to be happy. Thank you. We're going to open up for Q&A. So, if you have questions,
You want to go now or the end?
if anyone has any questions, feel free to. We'll leave the camera rolling. Hello.
Hey.
All right, I'm back with Q&A. So, all right, post speech. I'm feeling good. Anybody have any questions to ask the presenter, the keynote speaker, entrepreneur, CEO, owner of Come Back to Success? Yes, you sir in the back.
How would you describe the growth and development of your current venture, your business now, comparing it what it was 6 months ago to what it is today?
What month was 6 months ago?
So maybe in March, and I say that because I think that was the last time I came to one of your speeches, and I've seen how well you've progressed and developed as a speaker, and I want to know if you also think that. So.
6 months? No. It's October right now. You came to my speech in November before I left to do another speech in my hometown, Bellingham, Washington, right? So you came and you supported me in a Denny's location in Maywood, California, correct? So to answer your question about from now to Maywood, I don't have to say anything because you know. Next question. Yes, you sir.
So we have heard of your progress. You pretty much delineated what has transpired along the way, you getting your book ready, getting your business ready. what do you think is the biggest drawback that you felt in your career as far as an entrepreneur is concerned?
The biggest drawback was that I was suppressing myself for too long.
In what respect?
In the respect of my perspective of my mental illness, bipolar disorder. Correct. Anybody else have any other questions?
What's next for you, Brandon?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking me, sir. In this audience, so I've already made this public. I'm moving to Seattle, Washington on Monday, this coming Monday, the 31st of October. And I'm doing that because I am financially broke. Any other questions?
Well, what happens what are your plans once you move there to keep what you're doing going and growing?
My plans are to continuously ask God for strength, for the right choices to make in my life. Because without God, I'm nothing. Any other questions? You look like you're very interested in me.
Has soccer helped you in any way for your strength or your illness?
It's helped me a little bit with my mental illness.
In what ways?
In the ways of physical exercise.
I have one more question.
Yes, you, sir.
What about the dream? The dream that you have to become a owner of a business and being a successful entrepreneur. When you move to Washington, are you going to keep on going with the present program? Are you going to make some changes? And I think that goes
Changes.
This question. That's next.
Yeah, changes is the word. Changes. Life is full of changes, and with that, I will make decisions accordingly. Well, that concludes tonight's. I'm gonna end the recording, and if anybody has any, wants to take a picture with me or buy my book, say last goodbyes. I know there's some of you in this audience who know me personally, and so I appreciate you showing your support. Some of you who've invested in my business when nobody has. So, there's a lot of people that are rooting for Brandon Burbank, and I'm not going to let them down. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Right on.